Hey, all you happy lost souls. It's been a while, but I went on a little bit of a gem hunt today and walking through the waters of Wissahickon, tributaries of the Wissahickon. Found a lot of raw, rough corundum and sapphire today. We get a lot of clear and yellow down that way. This is a really, really rough one. This has some color to it, so I pulled it. So we're going to clean these up. There's a big red corundum here. And we were down in the crazy geology, so I brought some really cool geological pieces back of like corundum that you would probably find starring in, things like that. Found some really nice big clear pieces, like this big piece of yellow sapphire here. Wait till you see this stuff when it gets clean. This is all dirty. This is all salt of the creek, the water. Some of this is underwater. This piece is clear, believe it or not. Even though you can't really tell, but you see this stratification. You see how it's very brick shaped. It's actually would have been a full corundum coming down on this side, but this is broken off here. So that's a big piece of clear. And I'm just going to keep emptying my bag. It's a lot of yellow and a lot of clear corundum. And here's a piece, it's still in its corundum shape, like a barrel. Very, very neat. So bring that too. I mean, I was only really looking for gems for about a half hour. I mean, there's a really nice piece there of white milk sapphire. Here's another barrel-shaped piece of corundum, and you can see the ridges on it, and the barrel shape of it almost looks like a horn or an antler that's been fossilized, but that is a corundum. And this is all southeast PA. A beautiful corundum here. Beautiful clearish yellowish red. Very pretty piece. And you can see that was part of a larger barrel shape. Something similar to this, but the rest of it's broken away. These are all alluvial, like within water, here's a piece that's still in its faceted type shape. This is another piece of yellow-ish clear corundum. I have the gem light here. I have a more powerful laser in the other room, but maybe I'll just see inside of these. You see what I mean? Like these are a lot more clear than meets the eye. We can see right into a lot of these. This one gonna be a little more rough. This got to get clean, but it's still got penetration. But look at how clear this one is. You see what I mean? Look at this. I mean, you wouldn't really know. And you gotta kind of have an eye for this stuff because stuff will be covered in mud. But you see how much that lights up? See how high quality that is right there? I mean, it's pretty. Same thing with all this. It's very high quality. I think that one is beautiful. Look at that. So, yeah, we had quite a day, but I mean, we're still gonna be going into our bag of tricks here. And this is right down where the shale pops out of the earth, and a lot of strange shale. Look at this corundum. I'll add some clips of the park nearer to where we found these. I won't give away the exact places I find them usually. But this one's really pretty. It's still all in its faceted shape. So, I mean, look at this. Crazy, huh? This has got some blue in it, but even these are very clear, once the light gets in there. These are still in their corundum formations, though. Very cool stuff. This one's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, and this piece is astonishing, too. You can see this curving and bending of that mantle, and it just really bizarre things going on. This is like a sapphire with a ton of starring in it, but this is still aluminum oxide, all of this. Now let's keep digging into the bag of tricks because there is a ton of it. Another really beautiful piece here. This stuff's easy to find if it's around, especially it sticks out like a sore thumb amongst the shale. That's a crazy piece right there. It's kind of sharp still. Did that break in the bag? Very possible that broke in the bag. I'm looking for this one that I found that was absolutely stunning, and it better be in here still. This is just more corundums. More corundum. More corundum. I'd be very disappointed if I lost that big piece of white sapphire. There it is. This one very triangular and faceted still. Very smooth on one side. And this is a piece of milk sapphire right here. You see that? This is more rough sapphire, more corundum. Rough corundums. Big corundum day. This wasn't even after looking very hard. That's really neat because it's still in its form kind of. It's a nice color. This all has to be cleaned. We're gonna wash all this stuff. I just want to show you today's finds. It's a really cool piece, and you can see the shale in there on the edge of that. All pockmarked sapphire. Gotta clean it because some of the redder stuff is probably more valuable. Pink is very tough to find. Will we find some pink? I don't know what that is. That has to be examined because that's weird. Some of the schist. I'm trying to get all those sapphires out that we found today. Found a weird piece of pot a while back. They're metal. It's metal, I'm assuming. Yeah, it's metal. It's like a piece of a cannonball or something. I don't know what it is. Anyways, I'll splice this clip of these of this into the video here, and we can look at all this crazy sapphire that we found today. All these rough corundums. This big piece of clear. And we get a lot of it, and you really can't judge these until you start, cleaning them up and actually looking at them. Most of these are very transparent. Look at this one light up, and it's very hard to tell that some of these are even clear when they have dirt on them. You've got good eyes. I've done this a long time. Like this one is literally clear down here, but it's covered in mud, and you can never tell. But some of these will light up like crazy because these are all aluminum oxide. They're all high grade, yellowish, pinkish sapphire. This one back here is beautiful. It lights up. Bigger piece of yellow sapphire. And we're not talking about little pieces here. Talking about big corundums. Some still in their corundum formations. And just cool stuff. I even have a more powerful laser in the other room. But it's neat. All right, take care, y'all. Love you. Peace. Stay safe. And really want to get out there and search because, like I said, in southeast Pennsylvania, we find this stuff. The whole world will light up from it. So. Well, their phone's going off pretty heavily there, but you can really see how these just light up. You know, because they're very, very transparent, really. But this is them right out of the alluvial bed, right out of the creek. So. Anyway, take care, y'all. Peace out. Hey, all you happy lost souls. This is kind of like a before and after video. I showed you earlier in this video shots of the corundums that I recently pulled out of the Wissahickon Creek and surrounding tributaries on a hike. All alluvial, all tidal, all picked in the bounds of the lulls. So, but I want to show you all the sapphire here and all the corundum. And when you're looking for this stuff in a creek, it's not going to look pretty like this. It's going to be covered in silt and dirt, and all this rock is going to look the same color pretty much. So you want to go by shape. And some of these are very obvious because they're beautiful, like in corundum form. They'll form these barrel shapes a lot of times, like this, very square. And because they form in these layers, you'll see that formation, the ridges, and almost like a snowflake appearance on the corner, a waxy appearance because of how hard it is. When it gets battered around in the creek, it doesn't really soften up. It kind of just exposes how hard it is and how hard the edges are. You'll see it. You'll see this whitening, this waxy appearance on the corners. And this is a cool corundum because you could see the layering in it. And it might have even been used as a pestral at some point. I didn't really take these with the intent of finding artifacts, just more of the corundum and things like that. It's very useful to have like a gem light or a really bright light or like a laser. Like this thing's crazy. This laser's crazy. But we take the end off. It's just a super powerful green laser. And we can light up the inside of rocks with that as well. And help you identify them a little bit. The gem light works better though for this. So if we get the light on some of these, this has a black light on it too, but if we get the really bright lights, we could see that some these have color changing properties and different shades of UV light. So especially like this corundum that's really brown right here, this will get red. This is like a pigeon blood color. This would be almost considered a ruby right here. But you can see that corundum formation. You see that white waxiness around that really sharp edges. You see that very barrel-like appearance. And you're going to find this and I'm in southeast Pennsylvania. I find it in almost any creek in southeast Pennsylvania except ones that are too close to the ocean. I find them in all the tributaries of the Delaware. Find corundums. Some places more so than others. Some places yield different colors more so than others. There's just a ton of cool geology in southeastern Pennsylvania, right near Philadelphia. But like this giant piece of white corundum is just beautiful. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's sapphire, and we can like light these things up if I get the light right. So, and we can kind of see, you know, just how beautiful these crystals are, and these beautiful pieces of rough corundum. Now this is just rough uncut stone, and to wash them I just use soap, water, a little rubbing alcohol, and peroxide, and I scrub them with a brush to get all the dirt off, and mainly to get all the chances of raccoon shit and piss off of all the rocks, because it has some nasty parasites in it that you don't want. So you want to wash your hands really well. But I look for the shapes, these barrels, these squares, and then once you get them inside and cleaned up, you can really see how special these crystals are. And it's nice. You could bring a gem light with you while you're searching. These things are like $20. They're not super expensive. They recharge. The batteries die quick in them. They're very powerful lights, and then you need to charge them. But you could see how transparent these are. This one's gorgeous back here. And look at this light up. Look at this yellow sapphire light up. And if you were, finding this in the creek, this would just look like a weirdly shaped, very triangular rock. But that's the formation of the crystal. That's the formation of the corundum. And we just see how gorgeous these are. I have a really nice one over here. It's like a tangerine color. It's a rare color in sapphire right here. And this thing, the whole thing just lights up like fire. If I can get this thing to stand up somewhere flat, maybe on a rock, on this over here. Yeah, I'll put it on here. But some of these are just gorgeous. I can look at that. Look at this thing light up. It's very, very, very neat when you can light the crystals up. You can see into them. This one's absolutely incredible here. And this light is killing me. I'm trying to get it propped up so it doesn't fall over. There we go. But you can see the beauty and transparency of some of these crystals. And these aren't polished yet. They're not cut. This is this beautiful yellow sapphire. I find a lot of yellow. And clear. Clear is pure aluminum oxide, which all corundum is aluminum oxide. Same stuff we make sandpaper out of. It's extremely hard, extremely abrasive. I have a tester back there. It works quite well. I'll make a video to show everybody how the tester works. And for hardness. You've been doing it for a while. Once you start identifying these, they're actually very, very easy to figure out. This one's really neat because it's still in its sharp, faceted form a bit. You can see that although this looks like milk, it's actually very, very transparent. And once this is polished down, how clear this is going to be. And they use these in supplement for diamonds, the white ones, and the clear sapphire. The stuff's everywhere in the high hills of the Huntington Valley area, going all the way down into Philly. Testament of this giant 70-pound white sapphire dug out of my excavated out of my backyard when we were putting a foundation in years and years ago. You can even find it matted in with the masonry work in people's walls and the faces of their home. Obviously, stuff was probably mistaken as quartz until they realized they couldn't really, break into it very much. But you see that layering, that striping? Like, that's a dead giveaway that you're dealing with corundum in most cases. And sapphire is anything that's not a ruby, really. It's any color, and it could be any color under the sun. It just depends on what trace metals the sapphire was exposed to while it was forming. You get sulfur, iron, you get a lot of yellows, whites, pale milks. If there's zinc and then there's silver oxides in the area, other crazy colors. If there's titanium or laminate, you get a lot of blue sapphire. There's only a few blue. Most of the blue we have color change. Here's a blue one here. But when the light gets on these blue ones differently, they'll be different colors. So depending on what time of day you go looking for these, they'll appear different colors a lot of times. This one's so pretty. It's so pretty. This thing lights up so much. This light gets hot too. I'm trying to just look at that. That is so crazy. I want to prop this light up better so I can show you all just how beautiful that is inside. And it's just a crazy crystal. Looks like it's on fire. Maybe that's why it's called a sapphire. And these treasures are under your feet, guys. They really are. I mean, look at some of these come to life in the light. You just don't understand the treasures that are under your feet. Look at this one, guys. This is what we call starring in a sapphire. And I pulled this, even though it's very rough, just to show you the starring and the patterns in the sapphire. And it was formed in like a wall in between the shale and fell out, and all this scarring happened. And we call that starring. That's how star patterns get into the sapphire. If I sprinkle this with some water, it'll really come to life, you see. It's quite beautiful. Now it formed as like a gem bar inside of like a giant uptick of shale. And the shale can't just be any shale or schist. There's a lot of schist too. It has to, right here you see schist with little tiny garnets growing out of the schist on top of a sapphire gem bar. And you can see all the little pockmark holes where the other garnets had fallen out. Garnet's heavy, you can pan for it. Now this may have been worked into some kind of animal morphic shape, or it just might have been formed this way. Nonetheless, it's a unique piece, so we take it. Now this piece, I could argue, is probably anamorphic. That looks like a little snake or a mouth of an animal that was carved in there. It looks too perfect. Although sapphire does form these really crazy triangular patterns. I'm going to turn this gem light off, it's getting hot. Patterns called teeth, and you can see it on this one. If you see any kind of like lightning bolt type pattern in the hard rock, you're probably dealing with corundum or sapphire. It's called teething, and you can see the little triangular formations and almost like shark teeth or a lightning bolt. I've learned to identify this stuff, so it's very easy now for me, especially when you find this stuff laying amongst shale, because it sticks out like a sore thumb. And what ends up happening is all the rock that's softer gets beat up and destroyed in the currents and the floods, and the stuff that's too hard to get broken down, it's generally gemstone or corundum, and you can see those angles on those edges. And so I'm talking about, it almost looks like soap. It has that waxy appearance on the edges, and you can even see that stand out, those angles, like these very boxy angles in the formation. This is a beautiful piece of, I guess you'd identify it as yellow sapphire, but this thing will, it's already sparkling, and this whole thing will light up. So it does help to have one of these handy while you're out in the creek, because if the corundum is very, and this one's still in its, almost in its form here, like in its hexagon, you can see the angles on, I'm using them back out here. You can see the angles here, like a stop sign, and this big piece of yellow and red sapphire. This is a piece that probably broke off of something like this over here. It's always going to fracture in these very, very sharp edges. These ones are really cool because they've got like aluminum embedded in them. It's like a sheen type sapphire, and they're still in their corundum form. You can really see the corundum here. You can see where it was broken off, and you see that beautiful like inside of it, and the outside's very tubular, and that formation continues, and you can see where it was broken and smoothed off, or the crystal just stopped growing. You get this beautiful color. So you can imagine when this is cut and polished what, you know, a craftsman could do with something like that. Again, you see the teething. You see that triangular formation in the sapphire, but then you get light on it, and the whole thing just lights up, and they're beautiful. This is a really rough corundum, but probably beautiful in its cut. It's huge. It's multicolored. It could be considered a ruby, so I took it, only because it was massive, and I figure why leave it. This stuff's there today, gone tomorrow in these alluvial beds. So you just have to grab it when you see it, and as long as you're not digging or disrupting any of the parkland, they can't really do anything about rock collecting from alluvial deposits and tidal streams. You can't be digging, quarrying, or setting up a mining operation, but I found this stuff all within like 25 minutes. Like I wasn't there long. This stuff's not hard to find if you're in the right spot for it. I just think people have passed over for quartz. And I mean, I even have my geology labs in Valley Green where this stuff's all over the place. And geology teacher never made mention of it, just made mention of the uniqueness of the area. It's one of a kind in the world with the geological upticks and the crazy shale and schist formations and all the different metals. And you need a lot of aluminum within the shale and schist in order to create corundum, because all corundum is, all sapphire ruby is aluminum oxide. So it has to be aluminum and oxygen to form the crystal. And it stops growing as soon as it hits any other sort of silicate, quartz, sandstone, quartz, granites, shale, schist. Like 90% of the Earth's crust is made out of a silicate. So this grows in between the air bubbles and pockets in between the silicates, and then when it hits, it stops growing and it scars into the rock. You get these crazy starring formations. And sometimes they're internal and the sapphire grows back over it, and then you get these crazy effects. And we have some of those star sapphires as well. Now, I am not a stone cutter or an evaluator. I am just a rock hound and an artifact hunter, and once I noticed the thousands and thousands of stone tools that I have made out of sapphire and corundum, I figured there was probably a lot of it in the area, so I started looking for it. I don't see a ton of tools in it, but you see this very distinct time period where they were utilizing it. And it had to be very old because they made a woolly mammoth head out of it, so I don't know what they were seeing. Look at how beautiful that piece of sapphire is right there. It looks like glass. I mean, look at it. But most likely a scraper, so keep it over with the artifacts. This is sapphire. These are all sapphire tools. Sapphire grows in sheets and layers. So, turtle head made of yellow sapphire. But I digress. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know all about that stuff. But anyways, I just went through a little before and after and show you some recent corundum finds. The website will be launching very soon. I have another job and working hard trying to build up funding to make sure I have the LLC in place and the website domained and the point of sale insured and all that and ready to go, which all requires funding and time, and it's getting there. So I'm going to be selling some of these rough stones. The money will go to supporting the channel and also back into cleaning the waterways of our great country, which we definitely need to focus on cleaning our water up a bit. It's life-saving. We all need it. We all drink it. We all recycle it. So it's definitely a good cause. And you can see the formation in this rough corundum. Also, when you pick up a corundum this big, you're going to notice it's substantially heavier than another rock in that size. Like, it feels dense and heavy. That's because it is. It's very dense. This will probably be beautiful when it's cut, but it's just gotten roughed out because when you get water on it, it's crazy looking, this big one. You have another big one over here that's rougher. But you can see that it gets that same circular barrel formation. And you see that same circular barrel formation right there in that eye, because you've got a corundum growing in a circle formation, and then you've got another hexagonal or barred corundum growing in sheets off of it. Crazy formation. You kind of get the same thing. These are all very big corundums here. This is like a pigeon blood, so I don't know what that would be worth cleaned up, so we could keep it and have people evaluate the big ones. The small ones, you can kind of get a general idea, but they don't sell for cheap, and they're good. I'm probably going to be underselling them because I won't go through with full certification on all of them because it costs too much money. Just there's a return policy if you're not satisfied. You know? That's pretty much how it's going to work. Once you sell a few and your reputation is clean and good, and your stuff will build. There's also going to be merchandise for Happy Lost Souls, some t-shirts, and how that's going to work is when I do release the t-shirt, it's going to be available for one run, and then it's going to be gone until the next one comes. And they're all one of a kind. That's the whole point. One of a kind finds. So anyways, if you like it, if you just found the channel, all it is just my music and some of my discoveries in Pennsylvania, some of my artifacts, some of my finds, some of my theories. They are just all theories. I do a lot of research, but when you're dealing with ancient fragments of the past, there's all kinds of room for subjectivity, and only time will tell, only deeper research. But closing the door on it with paradigms is not a healthy way. Saying anything is the way it is and there's nothing older. We got to dig deeper than 13,000 years in North America. There's a whole thousands and thousands of years of humanity that we're missing out on. The story of all humanity could be found in the lost archaeology of the Americas. I mean, just look at South America, all the crazy things they're finding with LiDAR and deforestation going on, these crazy civilizations. Pretty much, rainforest is a giant, ancient, overgrown orchard, really. So it's fascinating. And maybe life sprang from here and moved elsewhere. Maybe we're so old that we were all on the same continent at one time. The 8 or 9 times when there were giant land masses that broke up, Pangaea being the last one. Maybe we're that old, and maybe we just don't realize it. Maybe our lineage goes back way further. Maybe we were wiped out, destroyed, and forget. Maybe there were giants and ungodly creatures. Maybe there were aliens. I don't know. I'm not here to say yes or no to any of that, because if you're scientific-minded, open-minded, you can only look at what's in front of you, and you can only make assumptions or make guesses or educated theories based on the evidence you're finding. And if I wasn't finding extremely unusual artifacts in extreme mass quantities that are undocumented, I probably would have just chalked it up to normal activity. There were millions and millions and millions of indigenous people that lived, fought, died, built, organized along the coasts of this country before any European contact was made, during written history anyway. I'm kind of a believer in diffusionalism. I think many groups got here at different times, because I think we could sail on the oceans way before scientists give us credit for, and that's when it's so important to find fossilized remains of Neanderthals in caves that were islands, and they could have only got there by sailing boats. And then finding remnants of an ancient boat at one of these sites just helped prove the whole paradigm wrong, that Neanderthals were this savage group that couldn't, create, couldn't build, couldn't do so. They were sailing. And the oceans back during the last ice age were a lot lower and calmer than they are today. And there's a lot of pack ice to bail out on floating around. So anyways, please subscribe if you found the channel. Please like it. If you don't, then don't. Sorry, I wasted your time. But anyways, stay happy. And sometimes you got to get lost to find yourself. Peace.